Well, hello, guys. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Unfortunately, I am not going on camera in this video because I am tired with a capital T. But today we're going to be going over 3.03 applications of cylinders, and I'm going to tell you right now this is a lot like what you guys did yesterday. And here's our obligatory, it's a recording inside of a recording joke. Let's take a peek at today's objectives. I will be able to find the volume of a cylinder. Not much has changed since yesterday, guys. All right, let's just do a quick review of what we learned yesterday, which was how to find the volume of a cylinder. Okay, so first of all, we need this formula. This formula, V equals pi r squared h, where pi is that irrational number, the one that I tortured you with on Friday. And we can estimate that when we were finding an approximate volume to 3.14. R is the radius. Remember, the radius starts in the center of the circle face and goes out to the edge. And we square that, and then H stands for the height of the cylinder. All right, let's go ahead and pause for a brief warm up. I want to know what is the difference between finding the exact and approximate volume. Just a word or two will work here. You can just tell me what the exact volume is, or what the approximate volume is, or we can talk about what we do with pi. Just go ahead and pause this, pull up the text poll, or if it's not working, just do it in the chat. And here we go. If you didn't know this, write this down in your notes because this is important stuff in all of our volume unit. The exact volume versus the approximate volume. Exact volume is when pi stays pi. We leave pi in our answer. We treat pi kind of like how you treat a variable in algebra. Do not substitute. The approximate volume is where we want to substitute. We're going to substitute pi for 3.14. And one more bit of important review, radius versus diameter. Okay, radius versus diameter. Remember, the radius is half. So we start in the center and we go out to an edge. The diameter is all the way across. So if you're given a diameter, you need to divide that number by 2 to find the volume. Okay, now let's go. Let's go with some more examples here. So like I said, this is a lot like what we did yesterday. All right, it's going to tell us to either find the exact volume, to find the approximate volume, or to find both. This particular question is asking us for the exact volume. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a moment. I want you to go ahead and hop in that chat box and say, what is the exact volume? What do we do with pi in our answer? All right, remember what you answered, okay? What do we do with the exact volume? What do we do with pi in our answer? Okay, if you said pi stays pi, you would be correct. Pi stays pi when we have the exact volume. All right, so let's check this out. Here's our formula. We want to write that down first every time because, frankly, we should memorize it regardless of having a cheat sheet. Step 1 is to substitute radius r and h for the radius and the height, and then step 2 is simplify. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's make sure first we have a radius, and this is only halfway across. So we know that that's a radius. That will work for our r. r equals 3. All right, and then we got to look for our height. Our height is 6 inches. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to write h equals 6. We're going to rewrite our formula. Volume equals pi times radius squared times height. We're going to substitute r and h into our formula. Volume equals pi times the radius, which is 3, Then we get to square it, and then we're going to multiply that by our height of 6. All right, last step is we're going to simplify. So we're going to first we have to simplify our exponent 3. 3 squared is 9. Bring down all that junk we haven't used yet. I promise I won't do the next problem with my mouse. I'm sorry it's a little sloppy. All right, now we have volume equals pi times 9 times 6. Last step is to simplify our 9 times 6. And 9 times 6 is 54. And that's being multiplied by pi. Volume equals. Now, we have the correct value here. We have the correct set of numbers here, but it's not in the proper order. Remember, we have to treat pi like we treat a variable. So I'm going to rewrite this to say volume equals 54 first, then pi, kind of tacked onto it just like how you tack on a variable. And then the only thing we're missing is our units. So let's go check our units. They're inches. So I'm going to write inches. And then this is volume in a 3D object. So it needs to be inches cubed. Cubed. And there is our solution. All right, this is another exact volume problem, so I'm going to go ahead and save this one for our mid-chapter review on Friday, but it is here in this PowerPoint presentation in the Google Class resource folder if you'd like to take a try before then. This one as well. I'm going to leave this one for you guys to try on your own. But here, just note that there is no picture given, so you might want to draw yourself a picture. All right, now let's rock and roll. Let's do this one where we're going to find the approximate volume. Now, I know it's on the board, but I'm going to give you guys a minute to think of what we do with pi when we're finding the approximate volume. Yeah, that's right. If you just read right here, use 3.14 for pi, or you remembered that when we approximate pi, we substitute it for 3.14, you would be correct. Now, I want to deliver a little forewarning in this particular problem. The reason I'm pushing 3.14 rather than using the pi key on your calculator or using 3.1415 is because in OLS, if it says approximate, and you don't use exactly 3.14, if you use that handy little pi button on your calculator, you might get the answer wrong. So anytime you see the word approximate, you want to use 3.14 for pi. The same is true on state testing, guys. All right, let's take a look at this problem. I'm going to pull up my highlighter so we can underline as we go and pick out all the important information here. So what is the volume of a cylinder with a radius of 3 feet and a height of 4 feet? Wow, that's a pretty big cylinder. Sounds like a storage barrel. All right, so we should probably draw this barrel, just a rough little sketchy sketch, just so we can really pick out this information. There we go. Neaten it up a little bit. Remember, your drawings don't have to be perfect. They just need to make sense. All right, so first we have a radius of 3 feet, and I know a radius starts in the center of my circle face and goes to the edge. And that is going to be r equals 3 for radius equals 3 feet. And then my height, let me get a little height marker in there, is 4 feet. So I'm going to write h equals 4. All right, now that we have our image drawn, let's come over here to our volume formula. So we know it's radius because it said radius. So we're going to replace r with 3, and we're going to replace h with 4. So let's go ahead and get rocking on our formula. Volume equals pi times radius squared times height. I know I said I was going to stop with my mouse, but I did not plug in my tablet. So hopefully with the next problem. All right, so excuse the sloppy writing. We have our volume equals, that's not going to change. That's not going to change. So we're just going to write it real quick. And then we're going to replace everything in here with what we found in our cylinder. So R equals 3. So I'm going to replace my R with my 3. Oh, let me write pi first. And then R is 3. Square it. Times my height, which is 4. So replace that with a 4. Now for my next step, I need to simplify. So first I'm going to handle my exponent right here, 3 squared. 3 times 3 is 9. And we're going to bring down everything we haven't used yet. Volume equals. All right, next step is to combine our like terms. We have a 9 and a 4. We need to multiply them. Well, I guess this isn't really combining like terms. This is just multiplying. So we go 9 times 4. 9 times 4 is 36. Bring down our pi and our volume. There's only one step left now. Now we just need to reorder this because this isn't in proper form. I'm not just going to throw my feet cubed over here next to this parenthesis. I need to treat pi like a variable. Oh, wait. But do I treat pi like a variable? I was stuck. I was stuck on exact. We're doing approximate. So my last step is going to be to let pi equal 3.14. Whoops, that was a little crazy, but he'll do. All right, so we need to replace pi with 3.14 in our last step there. So we'll have volume equals 3.14 times 36. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I'm good, but I'm not that good. I'm going to go ahead and plug this into my calculator really quickly. So we have 3.14 times 36, and that's going to give us our volume, which is 113.04. Now we're already rounded to the hundredths place, and we talked about this yesterday. Keep it in the hundredths place. If you end up with more places because there's decimals in your problem, be sure to round these. Last thing we need is our units. Our units are in feet, and those feet need to be cubic because we're in the third dimension. And there you go. That's finding the approximate volume, and then also almost giving you the exact volume, and then remembering we're finding approximate volume. Now, coincidentally, if we just went 36 pi feet squared, that would be the exact volume. All right, here we go. We have a true application, a word problem. So we're going to read it first, and then we're going to figure out what we need to do. First of all, I'm going to grab my highlighter because I'm going to read with my pencil. Now, if you're just on a computer, you can even just highlight the words on your computer so they stand out at you so you know where to find the information you're looking for. So we have a jar of mayonnaise is shaped like a cylinder. The radius of the jar is 1.5 inches and its height is 7 inches. Mayonnaise sells for 8 cents per cubic inch. Okay, that last line tells us they're probably going to want us to find the cost of the jar of mayonnaise. And there it is. What is the cost of the jar of mayonnaise? It also tells us to use 3.14 for pi. So this is going to be the approximate volume. And round only your final answer to the nearest penny. So we're not going to round anything else to the nearest penny, only that last final answer we get. All right, so let's dive right into this. First things first, we want to draw a quick little image just so we know what we're looking at here. We have a cylinder, and that cylinder looks like a can of beans a kindergartner drew, but that's okay. There is our radius, and our radius equals 1.5. Here is our height. Oh, it's a little slanted, sorry guys. Height equals 7 inches. All right, so we have 2 steps to take here. Okay, step 1, find the volume. Step 2, multiply the volume. by the cost. And that's it. Okay? So first, what is the formula for volume? The formula for volume is, of a cylinder, is volume equals pi r squared h, or pi times radius squared times height. So we're going to let r equal 1.5, and we're going to let h equal 7. So I have volume equals pi 1.5 and 7. Then if we go back into the problem and we look at this little tidbit of information, it tells us right off the bat to use 3.14 for pi. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that now in our equation as well. So that the next step will give us, oop, I almost forgot my squared, guys. I almost forgot my squared. I hope somebody caught that. Volume equals, I'm going to replace pi with 3.14 times 1.5 squared times 7. All right, let's take care of this 1.5 squared because we should handle our exponents first. 1.5 times 1.5 gives us 2.25. Then bring down everything we have not used yet. Now for this next bit of multiplication, you can actually just enter it into your calculator just as you read it right here. We can go 3.14 times 2.25 times 7. And if you just type it in right like that, 3.14 times 2.25 times 7, it's going to give you the correct answer. This gave us volume equals 49.455. Now remember, that's the approximate volume, and this is why it told us not to round until the end at the nearest penny, because if we round this number right here, we're going to get the solution wrong. We don't want to round our 49.455. We want to leave it as 49.455 until the very end. All right, now for step 2. Step 2, we need to multiply that volume by the total cost. Because this volume, oh, I almost forgot my units. This is going to be in inches cubed, or cubic inches. Okay, cubic inches. And it says a jar of mayonnaise sells for 8 cents per cubic inch. So that means for every 1 cubic inch, it costs 8 cents. So if we multiply our total volume, here's step 2. Here, let me mark step 1. If we multiply our total volume, which is 49.455, or our approximate volume, by the cost, 0.08, this will give us the total cost of the jar of mayonnaise. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to type 49.455 into my calculator and then multiply that by 0.08, or 8 cents. And that's going to give me this number. I have 3.9564. Okay, now this is the step we round in. This is the step we want to make look like money. All right, so let's talk about rounding. If we're going to round to the nearest penny, that's the second decimal place, okay? So see, 95 cents, second decimal place. However, I don't think this 5 is going to stay 5. So if we're rounding to this place, we need to look at the next number over. If this number is greater, is 5 or greater, we round up. If it's 4 or less, we round down. Now 6 is absolutely bigger than 5. So this is going to round up to make a 6. This is where we round our final answer. The cost is $3.96. We round it up and get your dollar sign in there. All right, guys, last one. And if we have any time left over after this, then you guys can play some Kahoot with the sub. All right, so we have Alice here. Alice, and she's purchasing a paint bucket. The paint bucket has a radius of 3.5 inches. Oop, let me grab my highlighter. radius of 3.5 inches, and a height of 8 inches. The paint costs 5 cents per cubic inch. We're literally doing the same thing we just did, only this time with paint instead of mayonnaise. What is the total cost of the paint? Use 3.14 for pi and round only your final answer to the nearest penny. All right, so let's dive right into this. We already know the steps we need to take. Oop, let me get my pen, not my pointer. We already know the steps we need to take here. First, we need to find the volume. And then we need to multiply the volume by the cost. All right, so let's draw our paint jar real quick. See if I can do any better this time. It actually almost looks like a jar of paint. Here, let's give them a little paint lid, and we'll write paint on it. I'm proud of that paint jar. All right, so this paint jar has a radius of 3.5 inches, and it has a height of 8 inches. All right, so first, volume formula. Volume equals pi times radius squared times height. And this go around, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to get that 3.14 in there for pi. So I have volume equals 3.14 for pi, 3.5 squared for radius squared, and 8 for height. First things first, we got to handle that exponent. And 3.5 times 3.5, or 3.5 squared, equals 12.25. 12.25. We're going to bring down everything we haven't used yet. Get some parentheses around that. 12.25, 3.14, and we are good to go. Now, all I do is I just multiply straight across here. I go 3.14 times 12.25 times 8, and that's going to give me a total volume of 307.72. All right, let me just double check that math. Yeah, I did enter that correctly. All right, so now we take that volume and we go on to step 2. I forgot to mark my step 1 again. Step 2, we need to multiply that volume by the total cost. So my volume, and remember this is in inches cubed, which is cubic inches, which is exactly what we needed. 3.0. Hello, we're not doing pi again. All right, 307.72 times 0.05, or 5 cents. Let's find out what this is. 307.72 times 0.05, or 5 cents, gives us a total of 15.386. All right, but this isn't in money form yet. This is not money. Money only has 2 decimal places. So let's take a look at that 6. That is greater than 5. So we're going to round this number up. Our 8 will become a 9 in our final answer. So let me just put a little arrow there so we know what's going on. The total cost is $15.38 a bucket. All right, and here's one we're going to save for the mid-chapter review on Friday. So you can take a look at it in the Google Class resource folder ahead of time if you want to, or just wait for Friday for the solution to Monty and his experiments. All right, guys, depending on how much time you have left in class, you can go ahead and do this exit ticket. You can just jot the answer down in your notes and we'll go over it tomorrow. Or if you have enough time, go ahead and play that Kahoot that I emailed with the notes for today, and you guys could do the Kahoot instead of doing an exit ticket today. Either way is fine with me. I don't know how much time you guys have left in class. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you again for subbing our class. And I hope you guys enjoy reading Chapter 2 of Lord of the Flies coming up next in ELA. All right, I can't wait to show you guys pictures of my trip. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.